Welcome to the STR Data Lab.
Hello and welcome to the STR Data Lab. I'm Jamie Lane, Chief Economist at AirDNA, and I'm joined today by Jodi Odlin. Jodi is the founder of Hospitable Hosts. Jodi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Nice to be here.
So first off, congrats on your Rentalpreneur Award for the Shorties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself, but yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a really great achievement after slugging, myself with work for the last 3 years. It was really nice to be able to receive that. Yeah.
Yeah, those sort of awards are always, and one, I think most people are surprised when they get nominated, and then really exciting when you actually win.
Yes. Yeah, and I was in a category that there was some really incredible people in. There was 8 others who were shortlisted. So I honestly did not realize I was going to win it at all. And I was sitting on the table with Justin Ford, and we just kind of looked at each other and went, "Oh, there we go." No, but I am very, very grateful to have received that. It's you don't need awards to do things, but when you are, as you say, nominated and recognized by the industry that you're a part of, it is special. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you.
So I mentioned I'm founder of Hospitable Hosts, and it's been a really fun sort of book project for me to observe from afar. So many people I know and respect have been part of Hospitable Hosts, but one, could you explain what it is for those who haven't heard of it? And then what did you feel like was sort of missing in the way the sort of industry talks that sort of pushed you to create it?
Yeah, sure. So Hospitable Hosts is a book series. We have a trilogy, so 3 books in the series, all with 40 authors involved. And the hosts came together to share their story of how they got to be in the industry. They give tips and ideas for hosts who are reading, and also it's an inspiring. There's many inspiring stories there to kind of get people started. And I know people who have read the first book and then applied to be in the third book, and they are in the business because they read somebody's story in the first book. So I think that's pretty amazing. So the reason I decided to do the book was I'm a host in the UK. I have a business in the UK of 15 properties, and I was just doing it on my own with my family. They were my first team. And I really didn't know this world of short-term rentals existed, like all of the vendors. I've extensive traveler, so I knew there was properties out there on Airbnb, but I didn't know the intricacies of having my own property and the business. And during COVID, I actually had time to sit and poke around on the internet, and I came across an app called Clubhouse. I don't know if you know of it. And there was many of the industry leaders talking and sharing ideas, and I got so much great information and value out of it. And one day they were doing a 24-hour room, and Mark Simpson actually called me out of 500 people to go over my direct booking website. And it was interesting. He didn't say too many bad things, but because that was one of the projects I did do in lockdown. Anyway, moving forward, I started attending conferences, and I started meeting these people that I had met through Clubhouse. And I found it really interesting to understand their stories and how they got into the industry, because I do come from a hospitality background. I'm hospitality trained. I worked in 5-star hotels, and I just fell into short-term rentals where we moved to the UK as a family. The property that we rented had a little cottage on it. And we thought, what are we going to do with this cottage? We can store our bikes, wait for family and friends to arrive, or let's try this Airbnb thing. And that's how it started for me. And I wasn't the only one that had those crazy stories of people falling into it, or people who have had a really life change in some way and had to pivot their way that they're earning an income, or their kids have moved out and now they've got spare rooms in the house. And I just thought it was really inspiring. I'm a storyteller, like I'm talking now. Yeah. So I just love hearing people's stories. And I thought, wouldn't it be a great way to put it in a book? So I gathered the first 40, and I didn't realize a lot of the industry leaders would jump in. I just thought it would be just the 1 and 2 property hosts. But I was very, very grateful and very supported by the people who jumped in. It became a #1 bestseller around the world. And from there, I just had people contact me. I want to tell my story. I want to tell my story. So that got into volume 2, and that also become a #1 bestseller. We turned it into an audio book as well. And then we did number 3. And people still contacting me, are we doing number 4? But we'll stop at number 3, but we've got some other books coming out with a different kind of angle of the storytelling. So yeah, that's the story of how it came about. And it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's amazing. And when you were sort of telling that story, you mentioned sort of coming from hospitality industry, and you sort of named the group and the book Hospitable Hosts. So it's clear like hospitality and means something to you. And like we're in this industry, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But like what does it mean to you?
Yeah, you're so right and that's why I called it Hospitable Host, because when I was attending these conferences and hearing people about our industry, I did feel that there was one key component missing that people were talking about, and that was hospitality. And now we know a lot of people come into this industry through property investment, or they might just, as I said, have a spare room or something like that. But there was no one really focusing on hospitality, and I just felt that needed to be discussed. And so that is a key component of the book, of how they bring their hospitality into their industry. So for me, I'm not a property investor. I'm a property manager. I manage a couple of people's properties. The rest are mine. And hospitality to me is the key of my business. I'm not looking to scale. I have 15 properties. I like just having 15 properties. It's enough for me and my team. And I just feel if we do it right from the hospitality aspect of it, then I've got a really great business. So yeah, hospitality is a really key component for me.
I was just looking at my desk and had my Unreasonable Hospitality book
Well, look, I have
sitting there.
mine as well. I have mine too. I think everyone needs to read this book, or listen to his podcast, or his YouTube. He's a phenomenal guy. He's done a lot for hospitality in general. I know he focuses a lot on the restaurant, food and beverage, but you can get some really great skills there. And I have these 2 really great books here too. This is volume 2 and volume 3. I have to give them a plug. You can get them on Amazon. So if anyone's listening and hasn't read the book, there's some, it's great. A lot of people know the people in the books, but they don't know their background or their origin story of how they got in there. And like I said, they're pretty inspiring why people are doing what we're doing. So yeah.
And what I mentioned, you look at the names of the people that have participated. It really is like in some ways a who's who of the industry, and like great to like see and hear about their sort of origin stories of now. Like a lot of people know them, but like how they sort of got into this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you'll be really surprised, actually. A lot of people just like me have just fallen into it, like I said. And what's happened from the book, it's formed this amazing community of 146 authors, and then they have their own communities that they look after. And so really being able to utilize the book and becoming visible through this spider network of short-term rental property owners out there. So the word is getting out there, and I think that hospitality is and should be a main focus of your business if you're going to be successful and stand out.
You said you aren't looking to scale, but you also said you had 15 units, and 15 units to me sounds like a pretty large hospitality business. So,
Yeah,
what sort of
yeah, it is. But when you compare to some of these other people, like we have one lady, Rebecca Cribben, she has 350 properties in Australia. And I've just been to Colorado and I met a lady who has 2,500. I'm like, oh my God, how do you do that? And to keep that personalized touch, involved in terms of the hospitality aspect.
Yeah, so, and as you've sort of scaled your business from one sort of cottage to 15, and what have you done to sort of make sure that you're able to keep the sort of hospitality aspect? Because one, and I've got one, it's pretty easy to make everything sort of personalized. But I imagine as each additional one you add, it gets exponentially harder to sort of keep that same sort of personalized sort of hospitality touch. So how have you done it?
Yeah. So just to kind of set the scene, my properties are in a little tiny country village in the Cotswolds in the UK. It's actually where King Charles lives. So I think the way that I've managed to do it is to keep it in that same area. So, I can walk from one property to the other. I'm not like, I don't have to employ anyone to get in the car and go places. I have a really great team. I couldn't do it without my team. As I said, I'm a remote host, and now I used to live in Tetbury, but now I live on the other side of the world in Australia. So I do really have to rely on my team. I've got systems and processes in place that everybody follows, and it just works. And now, with the help of AI, I've been able to, really level up my customer service, because when my guests arrive to check in at 3 o'clock, it's between 3 and 4 a.m. for me. And when my phone rings, or used to ring, to say, where's the lockbox, which I've clearly given them their instructions in my automated messaging before they arrive, but we know guests don't always read, my AI takes over. And so it allows me to sleep at night. And I honestly couldn't do this side of my business well now without having the AI involved.
Well, it makes me feel a whole lot better of hearing you say that you use AI when I heard so many say that like AI will eventually be might be the death of hospitality and sort of take the personal touch out of it.
I don't agree with that. I think if you use it correctly, if you use it as a tool in your business, not just to take over, it's very easy to do, to let AI run it if you wanted to. Like sometimes I travel, so I know I'm getting on a plane and I won't be able to read messages for 17 and a half hours. Although I have someone monitoring the AI, it was a bit of a scary feeling at first, thinking I'm not going to be accessible. But I get off the plane and I read how the AI has responded to my guests, and it's fabulous. And there is that what's the word? There would be part of me who'd say, "Oh, just let it go," just let AI take over. But I do believe if you do use it the correct way and have that personal touch as well, so it creates a really great balance in your business, and for you as a business owner, it gives you so much time back. I contact all my guests every Monday. I ring them personally from the other side of the world. They don't know that. Just to say, hey, you're coming in this week. I'm going to look after you. Everything's going to be okay. Just to get that personal service. And then Haley, my AI assistant, takes over from there. And then I jump in if I need to.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it
So
talks just like me, Jamie. Like you wouldn't even know it talks like me. So I was able to allow it to tap into 8 years of my past communications, and so it troubleshoots. It does all sorts of things. It's fabulous.
that's incredible. What sort of software are you using for that?
It's hostbuddy.ai.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I've
yeah,
heard of that.
I love it. Yeah.
So maybe I'm staying on the hospitality sort of thread. I always try to like have an excellent stay for my guests, but I don't feel like yet I'm creating maybe like a genuine hospitality experience for them. And when I used to host way back in the day, 15 years ago, in a private room in my house, like we did, like it was easy. Like you were meeting the people, you and greeted each one, and you could like make their stay awesome. So like what do you see as the difference between just like a good 5-star like stay and like actually delivering someone a truly hospitable experience?
Yeah. Well, as you're a data-driven guy, you know that everybody is booking now around an experience. Well, not everybody. The data shows that people they look for the experience that they want to do first, and then they book their accommodation around that. So I think it's great if you tap into local resources so you can then promote that on your direct booking website or even in your Airbnb profile, that those things are available. And I do think it's really important to personalize just even little things like a handwritten note before they come. You know, they've come in, just so they feel that they're being looked after. People like to feel looked after, and they don't want to walk into a cold property with no personal touch in there. And it doesn't have to be a big welcome hamper sitting on the bench or a bottle of champagne in the fridge, which a lot of people do. But we're all, that comes off your bottom line, so you have to consider that. And one way I've kind of got around that is I've joined forces with my local community, which they love, and I created a have coffee on me voucher. So I have a welcome note there with a little token which they can take to a local coffee shop. So it gets people into the local coffee shop. They not only get their free coffee, but they'll get a piece of cake or they'll buy breakfast or something like that. So the community loves it. So they support me. And I think it's just those little touches that you can do to keep it really personal, but it doesn't take a lot of effort. So I think a little voucher is far less effort than putting together a welcome basket that now most people have so many dietary requirements. They're not going to eat the bread because it's not gluten-free. They're not going to drink the milk because they're vegans. You can't, and then that's a waste. It just goes in the bin. So be creative and get your local community involved. I have a local butcher and he puts together breakfast packs for my guests. Now, I don't make any money from that, but what it is doing, it's driving 80 people into his butcher on a Saturday morning to pick up their breakfast pack, and he loves it. So who are they going to recommend when someone comes in and says, do you know anywhere where we can stay? Or they've got family coming into town, they recommend me. So yeah, I think they're just those little tiny things that you can do that make the world of difference for your guests and making them feel like they're coming away and they're going to have a really great experience.
So, and you mentioned sort of a new book series. You've done sort of so much in this space. What are you thinking's next? And is it and you're happy sort of running these 15 units, going to keep doing it remotely and spreading the word of hospitality? What's sort of next for you?
So what's next? So we do have a few more books coming out. We have a Hospitable Host Sisterhood book, which is an all-female book, that because there's some incredible women in our industry, and so we want to get them visible. And that's going to be launched next year on International Women's Day. We have a couples book, which actually you might like to be a part of that. We have some great couples in this industry doing things together, and they're sharing their stories where they do have that work-life balance where, they're not always talking about their short-term rental while they're cooking dinner at night. And there's some really fabulous people in there. And we have another book that's coming out, which is focusing more on the property rather than the book. So, there's properties out there in the world that have been hosting and hospitality driven for centuries. So we've got a lot of people coming in from Europe and America, great big ranches, and just the story behind the actual property itself. And then what's next for Hospitable Hosts? We've just done our first summit in Colorado, which was amazing. It was purely hospitality focused, nothing more. People came, everyone had a workbook. They came, they learned, and it was like going to hospitality school rather than going to a conference. It was amazing. We did other things like breath work to look after you as an individual, and we also had a local charity come in, and we helped write notes for homeless kids and notes to homeless children, I should say, and create and make blankets, and we did all sorts of things. So coming together as a community to be able to give back is a really important part of our community. So we have our own give back program, which I'm working with Debbie Todd on that, and we work with a lot of the vendors to help them be able to get in front of hosts to be able to give back to the community. So we've got a lot of things going on. We've got an education platform coming out, which we have a hospitality course, which has been purely written for short-term rentals. And we've even got an accreditation program, which is a bit of a hush hush coming out. So I've put it out there now.
I won't tell anyone.
No, don't tell anyone. For those of you who are listening and really want to up your hospitality skills, it's not difficult. It's just another lesson that we have to learn. And if we learn to do it correctly by those people who are already doing it in the industry, we've got 22 of the hospitable hosts who live and breathe hospitality, who are facilitating each module. And at the end of the course, you'll actually become an accredited hospitality expert. So we're doing wild things with that. We have our own website that's been created, so guests will be able to come and book another stay. Like if they're staying with me, for instance, and they see I've got this great level of standards, then they'll be able to go onto the website and look across at Texas and find Rose over in Texas who has exactly the same standards, but still that uniqueness to the way that Rose is hosting. So we're really, really looking forward to rolling that out, which will be in the second half of the year. So watch this space.
No, that sounds amazing. I've been affiliated on the board of the Cornell Hospitality School, and like just seeing how, and once you get a system around like how you train and how you sort of provide education around hospitality, like it can build on itself so much and really sort of add to the knowledge of everyone in the space. And like where there isn't a short-term rental hospitality school, like there are all these great sort of traditional hotel schools around the world, like it's great to see that these accreditation programs and real learnings of, because short-term rentals aren't a hotel. Like, yes, there's a lot of learnings between the two industries, but and fundamentally they're very different in a lot of ways.
Very different, but I think our guests, they're looking for something similar. So they're looking for standards, and that's unfortunately what our industry does not have. Again, going around to conferences all around the world, I've been hearing we need standards, we need standards, we need standards. So I decided to do something about it, and let's create a standard. So with the help of the people in the community, we're going to roll out an industry standard to do with hospitality. So, and I do truly believe that's going to help with advocacy as well, because we're going to be able to show people that in local governments and so on, where all of these regulations are coming in, that we are a professional body of people. We're not just mum and dad who have a spare property, or, you know, someone who's just got a property and put a bed in there for people to stay. Yes, there are those people, and those type of properties actually, people want those type of properties, but other people don't. And people want to come, they want to stay in a property like your property has got simple standards. And I think having an education platform to be able to teach hosts and how to do these basic skills is really, really valuable. And I believe you can have you don't have to have a luxury property. You can have a mediocre property. Make sure it's clean. That's number one. Make sure it's clean. Make sure your communication is there with your guest. And if you set the expectation up from the beginning, from the listing, then you'll have a successful journey with your guest. As I said, you don't have to have full luxury. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles, the hot tub, the pickleballs, the everything. Like, those properties are amazing. And I know you've put in a pickleball, but you don't have to have those. You need something to stand out from the rest, but that could just be your customer service, your guest experience in terms of your communication and your listing. So that's my belief. Other people could say I'm wrong with that, but that's just what I believe. Because I want to tell you a little story, just quickly. I have a property in the countryside, as I said, and this is, you can't please everybody, and I think that is a valuable lesson in this. That I had one property, two different guests either side of an incident, and the incident was the first guest rang me and said there's a mouse in the house. They were disgusted. We're talking a teeny tiny little field mouse, not a horrible, disgusting rat. They were disgusted. They wanted to leave. They wanted a full refund. They couldn't believe that there was a little mouse in the house. It's wintertime. They come in. I know it's not like ideal, but that's just being in the country, right? So those people left. We had to do a lot of going back and forth with Airbnb to ensure that they felt like they were heard, but I didn't want to give them their whole refund. I'm not into refunds. They can come back and stay at a discounted rate rather than giving a refund. The next guest was due to arrive. I rang them and said, oh, look, we've got a bit of a problem. There's a little mouse in the house, and we're trying our best. So they said, no problem at all. We got in there. We actually found the mouse. I sucked him up with the vacuum cleaner. He was stuck in there like this. And I ran him to the next field and put him in there. But then the guests then came and I told them the situation. They're like, oh, don't worry. If there's any more, it doesn't matter. It's just a mouse. So I tell that story because I want to, it was the same property. I'm giving the same service, but you can't always get it right because you don't know what's going on in your guest's life. The people before, they honestly didn't look like a very happy couple. The family that came afterwards thought it was fabulous that Mickey Mouse was going to be in the house. So there you go. So I think that's a real valuable thing for your listeners to take away, that you don't always get it right. I don't always get it right. You just have to keep that in mind. But if you do your best, then that's what you can do.
I feel like that's a great story to end it on. Jodi, if people want to find more about you, your business, Hospitable Hosts, what's the best way to do it?
So our website is hospitablehost.com, or come over and follow us on Instagram. All the different projects that we're doing are promoted on there. And, if there's anyone listening that's got a great story who would love to share it in one of these next books, please get in contact. I would love to share your story with the world.
That's awesome. Well, it might not be my story. Me and my wife, I wouldn't say we're the best example of a couple running short-term rentals. My parents, though, they've got 4 short-term rentals up in Maine, and they are a dream team.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you're learning from the best, right, then? But that's it. It's a learning experience with short-term rentals. And where I am now, 8 years, on from when I started, is worlds apart. So, which my kids, as I said, were my first team, and they're more than happy to help me with the marketing now than cleaning toilets. But it was a good lesson for them as well. They keep their places clean. So,
yeah. All right, Jodi, thank you.